My name is Tu. I live in a quiet Hmong village tucked into the hills of northern Laos. Life here moves slowly. The trees whisper in the wind. The spirits are close. That's what the elders always say. I used to laugh at that until my children began seeing their dead mother. My wife died 2 years ago in a brutal car accident, a head-on collision on a winding forest road. They say it was instant. They say she didn't suffer. I wanted to believe them. I needed to. We buried her with the old rites, laid white flowers on her grave, hung her photo in the house. The children cried for weeks. I cried for months. And then we moved on. Or so I thought. It began subtly. Whispers in the dark. Goob, my youngest, would murmur at night, even giggle sometimes. I thought he was dreaming. But then Neili, his older sister, started doing the same. Quiet conversations with no one in the room. One night, I walked in to check on them. I heard them talking. I asked, "Who are you speaking with?" Goob, without hesitation, said, "Mommy." I stopped breathing for a moment. My body went cold, but I smiled. Maybe it was just pretend. Maybe they were just missing her. That's what I told myself. But the next night, Nali looked me in the eyes and said, "She's mad at you, Daddy. She said you didn't come when she needed you." I didn't know what to say. I stood there for a long time, watching them drift off to sleep while my hands trembled. A few days later, it escalated. I was chopping wood in the back. Goob's laughter echoed from the house. It was strange, joyful but eerie. I stepped inside, wiping sweat from my forehead, and asked, "What's so funny?" He pointed to the window. "Mommy's playing peekaboo." I turned slowly, and there she was, just for a second. A pale face, long black hair, a white blouse, the same one she wore the day we buried her, standing just outside the window. She vanished before I could react. I ran out. No one. Only the trees swaying gently, like they had secrets they weren't ready to share. I felt sick. Then I remembered something I had ignored in my grief. The white string ritual. In our culture, when someone dies, especially in trauma, we tie white string around the wrists of surviving family members to protect them from lingering spirits. We tied ours, but not the children's. That night, I sat on the floor, tying the strings around their tiny wrists, apologizing silently with every knot. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had already followed them, something that shouldn't be here. The next day, Nali came to me, panicked. "Daddy," she cried, "Mommy tried to take Goob." I rushed outside. Goob was crying in the grass, eyes wide with terror. She was flying, crying. She said, "Come with me." But I didn't want to go. That night, I called my uncle, a village elder. He listened quietly, then said, "Your wife's soul is trapped between worlds. The kids can see her because their hearts are still open. You need a shaman before it's too late." We called one that very evening. He arrived just after dusk, a gaunt old man in black robes. His eyes were sharp, but his face was tired, like someone who had seen too much of the spirit world. He walked through the house without saying a word. Then he stopped at the altar where Mai's photo rested. He whispered, "She never crossed. She's still here." The ritual began at midnight. He laid down feathers, dried herbs and bones. He lit incense. Chanting filled the room, low and rhythmic. The air grew heavy. Then the fire trembled. The wind howled outside. And Nale began to scream. But it wasn't her voice. It was deep, distorted, filled with rage and sorrow. I burned. I screamed. But no one came. You left me." I froze. The shaman quickly silenced her with a prayer and turned to me. "Tell me," he said, "what happened the day she died?" I hesitated. I didn't want to say it aloud, but I had to. We had argued. She was going to visit her mother's village and begged me to come along. I was tired, angry, and bitter. I told her to go alone, that I didn't care. She left crying. Hours later, she was gone forever. The shaman nodded slowly. Her spirit holds on to that pain. She died not just in body, but in soul. She believes she was abandoned. We had to help her cross. To do that, we needed something sacred, the soil where she died. That meant returning to the crash site. We went at twilight. The forest there felt different. The trees leaned in. The wind barely stirred. I found the spot. Broken bark, charred leaves, still untouched after all this time. I knelt, gathered dirt and ashes, and whispered, "Forgive me." That night, the kids slept at my uncle's. We performed the final rite. The shaman mixed the soil with herbs and blood from the sacrificed chicken. He called out her name over and over again. Then came the scream. From the kitchen, I ran. The air was freezing. On the floor, wet footprints. They led to the altar, and standing there was Mai. She looked at me, her face pale, her eyes empty. Her mouth moved, but no sound came. And then I heard her voice, not in my ears, in my head. "You left me. I screamed for you. Why didn't you come?" I broke down. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I've never stopped regretting it." She looked at the dirt in my hands, then at the children's photos, and for the first time in 2 years, she smiled, just barely, and then she faded. The shaman let out a long sigh. "She's gone." We buried the remains in a new spot, beneath the tree where we first met. I prayed she'd found peace. The house felt warmer after that, lighter, no more shadows at the window. The kids stopped whispering at night. Laughter returned. Meals had flavor again, but peace never lasts forever. One evening, a week later, Goob came into the living room with a blank expression. "Mommy says someone's still watching her." I stiffened. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the forest line beyond the house. "There." I looked out the window, and there, in the shadows of the trees, stood a tall figure. It didn't move, just stood, watching, and then it smiled.